Coming up this morning on the, excuse me, I'm verklempt already. We're just starting. Good. Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast. Since we didn't have a show on Tuesday, we missed all the opportunities for April Fool's jokes. So to make up for it, we have some mock draft talk and potential trade options from one of my favorite people. Seriously, WDSU's Fletcher Mackel. We might poke, we might prod, we might have a little fun, whatever. While some of those moves, in my opinion, are way out there, you got Derek Carr haters who are going to love him. As we always say on this show, give the people what they want. We don't usually mean it, but we do occasionally say it, and we always, at some point, say, start the show. On this Wednesday, that time is now.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Stop staring. I get it. I'm hideous. Don't look at me. This is what happens at my house if you don't do the dishes the first time you're asked. She asked me immediately to tell you that this is Dattitude, episode number 357, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, April the 2nd, 2025. I am your host, Jim Derry, 34 and a half years on the New Orleans sports media scene. And I thank you for being a part of our ever-growing Dattitude family. Just to clarify, for those who need clarifying, my wife did not beat me up. I actually did the dishes when I was told last night. And for those who are listening after the fact and can't see me, right, my right eye has swollen up. Should have seen it yesterday. I mean, I don't even know if I would have done a show. The doctor said to put sunglasses on and eye patch. Iron mateys. She said, never heard things that happen when things happen to you. It's a clogged follicle, apparently. Eyelash follicle, I guess. You're supposed to get a potato. Never heard this before. Get a potato and heat it up, but you can't heat it up too much because you can't scald your eyelid. You got to get a potato and one because it keeps the heat longer. And put a potato. You know how silly you think I look silly now? You should have seen me with a potato on my eye. I look really good. You can be a part of the show, and if you're listening after the fact, yeah, you got to go find it on YouTube. I mean, it's not that. Again, it's not as bad as it was yesterday. I can see out of it, but go find it on YouTube. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page so you can see me make an ass out of myself on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live at 11 a.m. Central here. You can get in touch with me on X at Jim Derry Jr. via email at jderry@theadvocate.com. What is on the show today? Fletcher Mackel. I've been promising this to y'all for a little while now. We're going to have Fletcher did some mock draft. He likes to do mock drafts. He does tons of mock drafts. But he did one Monday that we're going to talk about. We have a little graphic for the screen. But my favorite that thing that Fletcher has done so far in this offseason is he did a proposed trade, or maybe he saw that. I don't know whether he did this proposed trade or someone else did the proposed trade, and he said, let's go roll with it. I think he made it up. You got to hear this, okay? I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to tell you now, but you got to see this proposed trade. I'm telling you. It is good stuff. Charles Mangus, what's going on? Welcome. Good morning. And good morning to the Dattitude family. Kyle Sherman says, good morning to the Dattitudinals. We got some Dattitudinal this morning. Brian S. Steve, good morning. Who Dat Nation? Charles Mangus, April Fool. No, it is not an April Fool. My wife did not. No, I'm just kidding. Kellen Moore reached out to Michael Thomas. I have no idea. I hope not. Rocky, good morning, Popeye. I eat my spinach. Mark Gapsky, good morning. His Padres are 6-0. So are the Los Angeles Dodgers after Chris Sale, who was on my fantasy team. I thought he was going to be able to finally get that win, blow past the Dodgers last night. Braves were leading 1-0. Nope. Mookie Betts, 2-run homer in the 6th. How about man versus machine? We're going to talk about things that are on the show today. The machine finally won. Gabe, you got to stop picking against the machine just to pick against the machine. We'll see. I have no idea what he's going to pick today, by the way. I know what the machine picked. A-Town says, "Arr, matey. Pirate Jim." Lewis Jacobson, did the potato help? I think it did. I'm telling you, you should have seen me last night. I think it did help. I'm going to have to do it again later on. Mark says he's got Chris Sale on his fantasy team as well. I'll let you know. Charles, Zion and CJ shut down for the rest of the season. Only 7 games left in the Pels. Absolutely. And guess what? We're actually going to mention. I made a slide for the Pelicans today. I promise we won't waste a whole lot of time. But when Fletcher comes on the show, we have to talk Pels because Pels are part of his thing. We're going to take more comments. We got some things to talk to you about this morning. Our new thing here, we see pregame chat on Dat. We're going to talk a little bit before we get to our guest. I'm going to spend at least 6 to 10 minutes on whatever the news of the day. And there is news from yesterday, most likely. We talked about the potential NFL rules on Monday. Well, there are NFL rules. We'll get into that in just a minute. Before we get to any of that, all of that, whatever of that, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. That's you or someone you know. It's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemel. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. And the good news is you probably can make the decision with one eye open, whether you do the dishes or not. Anyway, we'll fill you in more later in the show. But in the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Adam Varner, Carr's under contract. People need to stop thinking he's leaving. Well, I mean, technically, just because he's under contract doesn't mean everything. I mean, I agree with you. He's not leaving, but he could leave because they could trade him. He'd have to waive his no trade clause, but we're going to talk about it. So, Adam, you're saying people need to stop talking about it. We're going to talk about it this morning. I mean, just because I don't want it, just because I don't think it makes sense, doesn't mean that someone else doesn't think it makes sense. We're going to talk about it. Before we get to all that, again, Fletcher's going to come on about 11:20, so we got about 12 minutes this morning before he gets here. I may jump into Saints before he gets on. We'll see. But first, I told you on Wednesday we'd talk about the NFL rules and that they would probably be done by today. I think that pretty much finished. The owners' meetings end today. So, but there are a couple things in here that two things that I'm very happy about. One of the things that was tabled, it basically didn't pass, and we knew that it wouldn't because you weren't going to get 24 people to vote. You weren't going to get 24 owners in the NFL or 24 coaches in the NFL to admit to, we can't stop the tush push, so let's just ban it. Stupid. So they quote unquote tabled it, which means maybe they'll find some injuries in 2025 that will help them advance it further next year. It's dumb. I mean, let's forget about it. I mean, we don't need to ban the tush push. I saw something, I think it was on The Athletic. It's on this little thread here. Interesting stat from the tush push. Where is it? Maybe it was on my other. No, here it is. Brooks Cabina wrote, the Eagles have run their quarterback 122 times in 1 yard to go situations since 2022. The Bills, Steelers, and Broncos, all in the 50s, are the only teams who have surpassed 50 such runs. And they're all half or fewer. And the Bills, obvious. That's funny that the Bills want to stop this. Well, they don't want Josh Allen in that formation. I just think, if you're wanting to stop this, the reason why you're wanting to stop it is simple. I mean, the reason why you're wanting to kill it is simple because you can't stop it. Anyway, that's my take on the tush push. It's not banned. It will be back next year. It should be back next year. There you go. It's kind of ridiculous that people want to get rid of it. One of the rules that I am happy about, two rules I'm happy about. The number one rule that I'm happy about, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal because it doesn't come into play but a handful of times in a season, maybe not even a handful. The new overtime rule. Adam Chernoff, who is one of my favorite guests on the show, who is a betting expert. In fact, I call him the leading betting expert in the world. I think he's the best football betting analyst on planet Earth. No offense to anyone else, but that's my opinion. However, he's not happy about it. He says it's going to lead to more conservative play calling in the fourth quarter. The new OT rule is that both teams get a chance no matter what now. No matter what happens, if one team scores a touchdown, doesn't make a difference, the other team gets a chance. Why wouldn't you want to do that? We talked about this on Monday. It makes no sense to me that the other team, if one team could possibly have an advantage in overtime, let's get rid of it. And I know people say, well, just stop it. It doesn't work that way. I mean, if one team has the number 2 ranked defense and the other team has the 29th ranked defense, it's not fair, in my opinion. It's easier said than done. You're giving a team an advantage. If the team with the second ranked defense wins the toss, either way, they're going to have an advantage. So I like the fact that also, and Adam Chernoff says it will lead more conservative play calling in the fourth quarter. I think it will lead to different play calling in overtime. That's a little bit more gambling, if you like the gambling part of it. What are people going to do? What are you going to do if you score a touchdown in overtime and you're going against the best offense in the league? Are you going to go for 2? Are you going to force the team, if they do score a touchdown, to go for 2 and potentially tie you? I don't know. There's a lot of, if someone scores a touchdown, they kick the extra point, I would assume that almost every time, not every time, I would, if I come back and score a touchdown, unless there's a lot of time left on the clock, I'm probably going to go for 2. It's going to make it exciting. You don't want to win the game, right? You don't want the game to end in a tie. I would be for going for 2 there. I mean, Zach and I always have our jokes about analytics and whatever. I would go for 2 there. Probably not going to get the ball back. If both teams score a touchdown, there's probably not enough time for you to get the ball back a second time. You go for 2. So I think the new OT rules, unlike what my friend Adam Chernoff says, I disagree with him in multiple ways. I disagree that it's not better for the game, and I disagree that there'll be more conservative play calling. And even if there are more conservative play calling, so what? Again, it's absurd a team could have an advantage in overtime. So I'm glad they're changing that rule. We'll see that soon. Jay Tucker Rafferty says, still not perfect. They still left the ability for ties. Yeah, but you can't have them play. Look, the one thing I don't like is, I think it was Philly that proposed this rule. And the original rule that they proposed went back to 15 minutes, which I definitely think they should do. Now, they pulled the 15-minute part of it because it wasn't going to pass if they didn't pull it. So apparently the majority of the league wants the 10-minute overtime. I don't like the 10-minute overtime. I think the 10-minute overtime is stupid. Play. If you're going to keep that play your period like you're going to keep playing it. Gabe says, table it means they're really visited at the owners' meetings without coaches present. Yeah, there's no guarantee, but yeah, they're not going to do the tush push. They're not going to ban the tush push. I know they don't usually give a damn about the outrage that they would get. They would get outrage on that. Another rule that I'm happy that they've changed, most of you probably won't be happy about, is the kickoff rule change. The touchback will now go from the 30. They already moved it from the 25 to 30. Most of you we know don't like the kickoff rules because you're still not used to it. It'll take, you're going to get used to it. I'm telling you. In the long run, you're going to like it. Okay. They did change the touchback is now goes to the 35, which means, look, Darren Rizzi said, I think he told The Athletic that he now thinks that it'll be 70% of the kicks will be returned now. I think it's going to be a big difference. It already went up. It was up to like 35% or something like that last year, which was a 50% increase from the year before. So people like the old kickoff rules, but all we were getting with the old kickoff rules were touchbacks. Okay. And there is evidence that the old kickoff rules, there were more likelihoods of concussions and injuries. I like this kickoff better anyway. Again, it's radical. It's different. It's hard to get used to. I get all that. Good morning, Gary. I just think that it's a good kickoff rule. Jay says, I thought they were talking about moving the kicker back as well. That did not happen. They're not moving the kicker back. I mean, you have to get it in the landing zone. To me, it didn't make any sense to move the kicker back anyway. You want the kicker to get it in the landing zone. You want returns. You're not trying to hurt anybody or penalize anyone. Get it in the landing zone. So, again, Darren Rizzi says that he thinks it'll be 70%. The other estimates, most estimates have it somewhere between 50 and 60% of kicks will be returned now, which is still better than 25 or even last year, again, somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 40%. I'm for it. And again, I really think that after this year, when they do it this way and people are talking about whether they're going to, I think the only time that they're not going to be returned now is that the kicker just misses the landing zone, or if a team is winning by 10 at the end of a game, they just don't give a damn. And, with a minute and a half left or whatever, and they say, we just don't want you to have a chance to return it. And then they have it at the 35. We don't care. You're going to see more returns, I think. Other changes that I'm not one way or the other, or don't like or don't care. I am for, we'll see how this works. The first down now, they don't necessarily have I don't understand why they just can't put something in the damn ball. Okay. They're like, the NFL is just stubborn to a fault. Okay. They're just not doing the thing in the ball because they don't want to. Okay. Because other leagues use it and it works. They're just being stubborn. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. That's what they're being stubborn. Anyway, they're going to have quote unquote Hawkeye. How can we do it differently that doesn't have a chip in the ball that we could say we're trying to do something? Hawkeye is fantastic. Put a chip in the ball. I don't care. The report says, quote, from The Athletic. This is from The Athletic, I believe. It's either The Athletic, Bleacher Report. No, this one's from Bleacher Report. It says, quote, 6 8K cameras will track the ball while it's in play. Virtual recreations of the ball will be shown inside the stadium. Ball spot reviews will take about 30 seconds, which they say will be 40 seconds less than manual chain measuring. I can't bring. We got to have Fletcher on. We will come back to this though. Put an asterisk next to this, Gabe. We'll talk about this at the end. My thing on this, and I'll come back to this because I got one more thing to talk about before we go get to Fletcher this morning. He's going to be in any minute. My thing on this is this: you put a chip on the ball, it doesn't even take 30 seconds. It takes 10 seconds. The chip says whatever it is, it comes up on the screen. It is what it is. I know they use the Hawkeye quote unquote technology in other sports. It's better than what they've been doing, but we'll see. I'll also talk about later on when we go deeper into this. They need to find a way to do this in lower levels, and I know it's harder to do in lower level. They need to do something, and I'll tell you why later on. The last thing this morning, again, Fletcher's not in the green room yet, so I got another minute or two to talk about this. I'm not really for this one, okay? And I'll tell you why. Expanded use of replay assist. It can reverse flags for personal fouls involving tripping, roughing the kicker, face mask, horse collar, and hits to defensive players. However, it's only for flags that are thrown, which is dumb. The reason why I think it's dumb is I think that it's going to lead to more flags being thrown because you know how refs like to give themselves an out? Well, they don't have an out if they don't throw a flag. It's the same as the fumble recovery when they know it's not really a fumble, but they let the guy recover the fumble and return it all the way down the field. Ends up being a touchdown. I'm not a fan. So anyway, we'll see how that works. Christian says overtime should be like soccer, shootout with the kickers going back every 10 yards until someone misses. Maybe. You know what? Fletcher's not here yet, Gabe, so we can talk about it. Hang on, let me get the right slide. We'll talk about it till he comes in. First off, before we get to that, what do you think of you like soccer? What do you think of the overtime proposal? Just
no.
Try to kick field goals.
I think
no. The golden, somebody's going to try to kick an 80-yard field goal to win the game.
I mean, I would love that, but no. But the one thing I wanted to say on the Hawkeye technology, Hawkeye's fantastic. They've used it in soccer for years, and it can measure to the millimeter whether or not a ball is over the line.
I don't. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I'm telling you, I promise you, it does. It is accurate. It works. It's quick. It's fantastic.
Yeah. No, again, I take your word for
it.
And
they do have chips in the footballs. They have since 2017, by the way.
They don't use them though.
That's because they don't have the technology to use it. They don't have.
Then how does the UFL have the technology?
I don't know. I'm just using a quote from the NFL.
They don't have the technology because they don't want to have the technology.
But it doesn't matter. It wouldn't be any quicker than Hawkeye. Hawkeye's better than Chip.
I know you don't watch the UFL. I get that. I'm not telling you should.
I will never watch the UFL.
I understand. I'm not asking you to go watch the UFL. I'm just telling you that the process for finding out whether it's a first down in the UFL is about 10 seconds or less. And I'm sure
it'll take about 10 seconds.
accurate.
If the referees are effective communicators in the NFL, which I know that's a high bar to set, Hawkeye will take that long as well. I mean, it's very quick. To give you an example in soccer, basically the way they do it is they use it for goal line technology. They use it to determine whether or not a ball that was cleared off the goal line went over or not to the millimeter. And what it does is the people who are monitoring the Hawkeye will buzz the referee's watch in real time.
Okay.
And he can determine whether or not it's a goal. So I don't know if they'll do something similar in the NFL. I don't know how they'll do it. But if they use it in the same fashion, it is almost instant.
I will say that, well, they say it takes 30 seconds, but I will say this, regardless. It's absolutely better than what they've been doing, which is 100%. Sticking a piece of paper between the football and the stick. I mean, come on. Yeah. I mean, that's absurd. So,
yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I think what they've said about Hawkeye technology is a little misrepresenting it. It's actually fantastic, I promise. As someone who's watched it for years in soccer, it's awesome. NFL fans are going to love it.
We'll have you back. We'll talk more about it. And, dude, we got to do something about man. I got an idea for Man versus the Machine. Remind me when we get to it. I didn't talk to you about this off the air.
Oh, boy.
So y'all just present it to you live and see what you think of it.
All right. Sounds good.
I'll talk to you in a few.
All righty.
Gabe Henderson, everybody. Look, anything's better than what they got now. Jay Tucker Rafferty says the UFL is the NFL's test subject. Yes and no, but for the NFL to say that they don't have the technology is simply absurd. The NFL can have whatever technology they want to have. They could put me in a football if they wanted to. They could figure out how to do it. I probably wouldn't agree to do it. I'm just saying they could if they wanted to. All right, let's talk about all this later. We got more important things to do. One of my favorite guests. We don't have him on enough. Fletcher Mackel, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I hope my audio isn't too hollow. I don't have my earbuds. I'm sorry. So if it's a little echoey, I apologize. I broke out my COVID ring light and stand here. I did like sports for a year plus in the office, And I remember last time you and I did this, I was on my computer and then the battery died. And then I tried the phone. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going back to the ring light in the stand. The only thing is I couldn't find my Katrina earbuds with the little microphone. So I hope I talk loud enough and this is okay.
I'm sure you will talk loud enough and it's just fine. And I hope you don't mind my eye condition here. So everybody, you know, we're all having fun with it. My wife got a little upset with me that I didn't finish the dishes last night. Didn't do the dishes when she first asked. So that's what happens at my house when you don't do the dishes on time, Fletcher.
You know what? Do you have like is that like a little sty on your eye? Is that what that is?
No, it's actually a blocked follicle.
Okay.
So
yeah. So
they told me to put potato on my eye.
So I had something like that. I had to wear I wear contacts. I had to wear my glasses on air, which I don't do that often.
Yeah.
For like 2 weeks. I mean, this is years ago, but yeah, I'm telling you, it was one of those things. Like I almost felt like I had a mask on because I wear my glasses at night or when I wake up in the morning, but normally I'm a contacts person. So that can't be great.
Luckily for me, I'm nearsighted. So when I'm in front of my computer, I don't need my glasses anyway. And in fact, a lot of times when if I have to read small things, I have to put my reading glasses on if we're on the air. But yes, I have to go back to my glasses for Lord knows how long, and it is what it is. And I'm doing some things, but no one wants to hear about that. Before we get started real quick, Charles Manga says, bring back the New Orleans Brass. Do you think this NHL thing is realistic, by the way? Do you think there's any chance New Orleans gets an NHL team?
I would say the odds are extremely low, if not non-existent. But here's the thing, and I've said this on our television station, on podcasts, on radio shows. I would rather our politicians and business leaders be talking about this. Think big, act big, dream big, go for it all, then say, nah, we can't do that. Let's think small. Let's talk about small projects. No. Like, look, last week I went to NOLA Book Fest at Tulane University. They had a panel on the 50th anniversary of the Superdome. And you talk about visionary dreamers who did something special in the 1970s. At the time, the Astrodome was the biggest sports stadium in the world, 1 million square feet. In New Orleans, we said, the hell with that. We're going 2 million square feet, 1 million square feet bigger, because we have to have the biggest and the best. And that stadium is still relevant today. It sparked tourism in development downtown. So I would rather take moonshots for the NHL than talk about, like minor league sports or small things. So again, do I think it's a realistic possibility? I do not. And if I had to give it a percentage, I would say like 8 to 10% of becoming reality. And maybe that's a high watermark. But I love the fact that the governor is talking about it. Steve Scalise is talking about it. Real business people are talking about it, because I think that is better for the city than just throwing your hands up and going, we can't do it.
Fletcher Mackel here on the Dattitude podcast on this Wednesday morning, presented by Evangeline Securities. I 100% agree with everything you just said. I love that you shoot high. If you don't hit the target, you don't hit the target. But look, I think the NHL is probably intrigued by New Orleans because, I mean, we just pulled off, I think, maybe one of the greatest Super Bowl weeks in recent history, Fletcher. And I think the NHL, if they're talking to the NFL, they're like, look, there's no place you want to go more than New Orleans. And to get into New Orleans and have that, have it all here. There's a reason why the NBA wants to be here. It's not because we're bringing 16,000, 17,000 people in the arena every night. No, they want to be in New Orleans. And I think that it actually gives the NHL a chance to think about it.
Yeah, and look, I agree. I think that the NHL is at 32. If they expand to 34, I think Houston is 100% getting a team. They're population-based, business-based. So what's the other team? Atlanta's failed with hockey twice, even though they have the population and the business infrastructure to do it. You start looking at places like Quebec City, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Where else? So, look, ticket sales, it's not what it was. Everything is not predicated on tickets and suites. These television contracts are a huge part of how owners and franchises make money. So while I think that is a component of it, I don't think it's a deal breaker because we are a smaller major market, so to say, for professional sports. So I think the cultural aspect of New Orleans, yes, having an all-star game here, having events here, that is certainly relevant and interesting to the NHL as they continue to expand. And they've had successful franchises. Look, Florida was in the Stanley Cup last year. Tampa Bay has had a very good team. Carolina's had a good team. Nashville's had a really good team.
That's
So
right.
they've proven it can work in the Deep South. But I still would say we are a long shot. And I do think one of the things that works against us is look what's happening right now with the Pelicans. The Pelicans suck. I mean, they're terrible. Their worst full season. Their worst full season in 20 years since 04-05 when they went 18-64 overall. You know, like there's some nights where there's 5,000 to 7,000 people and there's not a lot of interest nationally or locally. And that is one of the major drawbacks probably of a market this size, that besides big events and if things are going well, the lean years, if the franchise is not good or run properly, you've got some lean years, so to say.
Well, you know what? We'll just have a segue. Okay. We'll have a segue. I was going to finish off the last couple minutes with the Pelicans, but we might as well have a couple minutes here at the beginning because look, you to your credit and WDSU to their credit, I mean, they stick with the Pelicans. You guys talk about it. You keep talking about it no matter what. Not everyone does. And I know that the game's on another network at some point, and all that, but you stick with it. You talk about them constantly. You know as much about the Pelicans as anyone in the media. So that's one of the reasons, one of the things I want to talk about you, because I really don't talk about it that much because people don't want to hear about it that much. And it's sad, Fletcher. It's sad that we are at this point where you talked about, a 20-year low for this team. The Saints were 5-12. Rod Walker was talking about it. This could be the 20-year low for New Orleans sports since Katrina. The Pelicans, then the Hornets, and the Saints. It's miserable. What does this team have to do to get better?
That's a great question. And thanks for the compliment. Look, I started working here right when the Hornets, now the Pelicans, moved here from Charlotte in that summer of 2002. And so I wasn't somebody who played basketball. And my basketball coverage was growing up and watching Michael Jordan in the slam dunk contest. Or those Jordan 3-peat teams. Again, I really fell in love with the NBA, and I've loved covering it. I don't understand why some of my colleagues haven't bought in more, and I do think it's something that I don't know if I consciously did it, but it just happened. I just thought, hey, I'm new to the market. Of course, Saints is our lifeblood. I was born and raised here like you. Everybody bleeds black and gold, but we have an NBA team. How can we not cover them on the same footing as we cover the NFL? And I do think that has benefited my career because I have made inroads with Pelicans people and NBA people and basketball people. And I do have a passion for covering it and like covering it when others through the years have just said, it's Saints. We don't care about that. Or it's LSU. We don't care about that. But I'll say this. It's hard because, look, the one thing I will say, since Gail Benson took this team over after her husband's passing in 2018, they have really invested. Prior to that, I'm glad the Bensons bought the team in 2012. But it was kind of like, the forgotten franchise out back in the garage of the Saints facility. They didn't invest in it. Mickey Loomis was the president. The optics of that were terrible from a national perspective in league circles. But since 2019, they have invested. They have turned that franchise behind the scenes into a real franchise. David Griffin, Bryson Graham, Swin Cash. Look, they have an analytics department now, an international scouting department. Again, what they have built behind the scenes is really good and it's really tangible. That's what I try to tell everybody is that I've covered it a long time. I used to go out there and it was depressing and you felt like the players didn't want to be here. They had their eye on a bigger market. You just felt like this organization can never do anything. That is completely changed. How they operate, what they do, the ecosystem and infrastructure they have built is on par with every other NBA team in exceeding others. The problem is this. None of that has translated to where it matters most in the win column. In fact, they are now worse than they were when they didn't care. And that's crazy because they have done, look, they went out and got one of the greatest performance experts in the history of the NBA from the Phoenix Suns, and it failed miserably, and they had to get rid of Aaron Nelson. And this is a guy who was renowned for saving Grant Hill's career, extending Shaq's career, extending Steve Nash's career, and it was a massive failure here. This year, they've got 6 of the top 100 players in the NBA, and all of them are ending the season hurt. Brandon Ingram got traded, and the other 5 are all injured. I mean, again, I hate to use the term cursed, but the basketball team here certainly feels like they are cursed right now because they can't even get that one breakthrough season that, oh man, we finished second in the West and made that run. The Hornets did that one year in 07-08, if you remember.
That's right.
They won 56 games.
And in one game, they played the Spurs in game 7 and had a chance to go to the conference finals. Yeah.
Gennaro Pargo missed the shot with about a minute left that would have given them the lead. It was game 7 in the Smoothie King Center. It was unbelievable. But Chris Paul was the runner-up MVP. David West was an all-star. Byron Scott was the coach of the year. That was their big run, and it was fun. And again, the Pelicans haven't even had that. Their best finishes are 6, 7, 8 in the playoffs, and that's just not good. And so,
no, it's not acceptable either.
Right. And again, look, here's the thing. And people will be like, oh, it's ownership or, oh, it's management. But the owner has invested. I don't want to talk about paying the luxury tax. A lot of teams don't pay the luxury tax. You pay the luxury tax when you're good and you can win a championship. They haven't been good. They haven't been in the top 4. So I can't stand the luxury tax talk yet. If the Pelicans finish second and didn't pay the luxury tax, then we can pile on Gail Benson and Dennis Lauscha in them. But right now, they've invested in everything David Griffin wanted. They've done things the right way, drafted the right way, found the right guys, and they just can't stay healthy. And even when they're healthy, again, they're not very good at the end of games and just can't find that breakthrough. It's frustrating and it's sad. And where do they go? Again, I'm not sure because this isn't a blow it up situation. But right. Again, I don't know how you add, maybe you trade the draft pick. If your draft pick in the lottery isn't Cooper Flagg, maybe you trade for a veteran player. Like maybe you go get Lauri Markkanen from Utah because they're in a full rebuild. Maybe you go try to pull Sabonis out of Sacramento. Maybe you take a flyer on LaMelo Ball. And there's teams out there that may take pick 4 for one of those guys, and the Pelicans run it back with their veterans next year, hoping that they can stay healthy.
This team is snake bit for sure. There's no question about it. And I don't know how you fix snake bit because it's really hard to do. Who dat, Daddy? Good morning. Welcome to the show. Hakeem Batiste. Welcome. Dan, welcome. I'll just say this. Fletch, DeJounte Murray going down right in the beginning. It was kind of a foreshadowing. I mean, we didn't even get up past Halloween. And you already knew it was going to be that kind of year. And you're like, just shake your head. And it's really kind of sad. But the thing is, to me, they've got to find a way to keep Zion. And I'm not saying he was the reason this year. And look, he has played a year where he's played 68 or 70 games or whatever it was. But, man, they have got to keep this core healthy. No reason to play him now. I get it. But they've got to find a way to keep him healthy.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing. Zion's played 6 full NBA seasons. His second season, which was coming off of COVID, they only played 72 games. He played in 61 of 72. Last year, he played in 70 of the 82 games. He's awesome. This year, the 30 games he played, he was otherworldly. He's in amazing shape. But he missed 25 games or 27 games at the beginning of the season, and that sunk you. And then when he came back, he's dealing with some nagging injuries. Again, keeping him healthy is the fulcrum of everything. And like people say, trade him. It's like, but again, if you trade him and he figures it out, he's a generational MVP type player. But the problem is you keep betting on that and he keeps getting hurt and he keeps derailing. Like, I don't know what the right way to go is because you're never going to get equal value for Zion Williamson because teams that want to trade for him are gonna short you on the price because of his injury history.
I hate to compare, and it's really kind of dumb, but to compare an NBA team to running a fantasy team. But there have been so many times when, like, I didn't want to trade someone that was like so disappointing because like what happens if they go off? I'm going to be so pissed if they go off and you hold on to them. And I almost think that in a way, that's kind of what the Pelicans are doing. Like we're holding on to Zion. You talk about him being in his 6th season. That's hard to believe, by the way. But you're so afraid that if he goes somewhere else and he goes off and, you know, he goes to the Knicks or he goes to the Lakers like AD did or whatever it is, he goes to the Celtics and he becomes this man beast like you thought he was going to be, you'd be so upset about it.
Well, that's the thing. Brooklyn is the team that I would pay attention to. I think they could make a big run for him. They got a lot of cap space. There's talk of them trying to pull in Giannis. So Brooklyn is the team in New York City. He has an affinity for Biggie and Brooklyn and you know, the kind of one of these New York City mecca of basketball type places he's talked about. So again, if he goes to Brooklyn and teams up with Giannis and they all of a sudden are in the championship, you don't recover as a franchise. Like you traded away a guy who's in the finals. I mean, you just don't recover from something like that. But holding on to him handcuffs you every year because everything is based around his skill set. And when he doesn't play, it throws everything into kind of a state of disarray. And so, yeah. And I will say this. I love David Griffin. I'm a big David Griffin guy. I do think he kept Brandon Ingram too long. Zion and B.I.
100%.
A lot of NBA people said that they kept trying to jam those square pegs into round holes.
They needed to go get a big man with B.I., in my opinion, Fletch.
Yeah, they did. And look, they tried. Make no mistake. They tried last summer. They just waited a year too long. They should have moved off of B.I. a year or two sooner, like after the playoffs in 22. But he was so good in those playoffs. And then in 23 was probably the sweet spot. And then last summer, it was, his worth was shot because he was so bad with Team USA. And then the season played on and he got exposed, especially when Zion was out in the playoffs against Oklahoma City. This is the thing, and I'll probably segue in the Saints here with this, is people who cover sports, there's stories of guys getting a chance and making the most of it. Tom Brady with the New England Patriots. I mean, we go on and on and on of guys who got thrust in. Brock Purdy with San Francisco. Guys got thrust in the situations and it worked out and they became great. It turned out fantastic. Other guys get chances and it doesn't work out. And then the excuse making happens. That was B.I. last year in the playoffs. Zion went out in the play-in game after scoring 40 points against the Lakers. Okay. B.I. against Oklahoma City, Lou Dort put him in handcuffs. He's not an alpha. He's not an ace. He couldn't help them break through and steal one game. That said all you needed to know about B.I., and I think it burst the bubble for David Griffin of this isn't Kevin Durant. This isn't an alpha. This is a 2 or a 3. That being said, and I'm transitioning here. Sorry, I know you're the host. To Spencer Rattler.
Okay, all you.
Well, but Spencer Rattler here. So, everybody keeps telling me about Spencer Rattler, about, boy, he's got to get a chance. He didn't get a chance last year. The O-line, the playmakers. But it's here's the thing. He went 0-6 as a starter. Didn't we see enough? If we'd have seen glimpses, if we'd have seen more positives than negatives.
We saw enough.
I feel like I'm one of these people who feels like, I get it, the situation was far from perfect. But he didn't do anything to make me say, oh, boy, even with a terrible situation, he pulled them up to make them better. He did something special. So, I gave up, and a lot of people gave up on B.I., is some alpha all-star stud after that Oklahoma series. I think we probably all need to give up on the dream of Spencer Rattler with an offensive line and playmakers becoming something great.
Again, I gave up bashing Spencer Rattler for Lent. So I'm just gonna put it this way, okay? I think that last game against Tampa Bay was a complete microcosm of what Spencer Rattler obviously has been in his short time here in New Orleans, and what I think. People say you can't tell anything over 6-7 games. I think you can, and what will be in the future. He was great in that first half because Kubiak built a game plan to where he was dumping off to option number 1 just about every single time. Well, guess what? Like opposing teams did in the other games that he played in, they made adjustments at halftime and they weren't giving up option 1 and were forcing him to look somewhere else. And by the time he looked somewhere else, he was deer in the headlights and either getting smashed oh, he was throwing it to in the wrong place. And so I'm not bashing him. That's just what happened. So I agree with you. I think he's fine as a backup quarterback, at least for now. And if they got to go to a backup quarterback at this point in time, it is what it is. It's not going to be good anyway. But you're right. That's a perfect segue into, look, I don't agree with these things that you put out there, but I think they're fun. This mock draft that you put out there and the potential trade. If they do this, I think it would be silly. However, again, it's fun to talk about in April, and there are certainly interesting proposals. And I want to start with your mock draft first. And I made a little slide here that you put out on Monday. And
well, I should. Okay, that's fine. We can talk about that. Although now I have to walk that back because I don't think. Well, let me say this. I had them. I bought into the trading Chris Olave because there's been a lot of talk about that on social media. You know, the Buffalo Bills could use a receiver, a team maybe late in the first round. But here's the thing. Yesterday on Tuesday at the NFL owners meetings, Kellen Moore kind of threw a bunch of cold water on that idea. Doubling down on Olave, that we're like we understand the health and medical situation. He's a great playmaker. The future is bright. Like Kellen Moore is pretty vanilla and bland, but you can kind of tell. Like his opening press conference when he was introduced, he went all in on Alvin Kamara. Yesterday, he went far more in on Olave than he had to. He was asked about Trevor Penning, and he was very one sentence. He's working hard. We're hoping to develop him. Like super simple, where you kind of like, I don't know about that. But Chris Olave, I feel like you can show that mock draft because I had him being traded to Buffalo for a second first-round draft pick. But that being said, I probably have to walk that mock back now.
All right. But look, and I said this on Monday, and I'm not just singling you out. There have been, let's say, I think I did at my last count, there have been 2,479,629 mock drafts in the history of mock drafts. And you know how many have been right? That would be 0. Okay. 0 have been right. So they're really meant to be entertaining and fun. So That's what we're going to look at this. Okay. So Saints trade Olave to Buffalo. First of all, I don't think they would ever get a 1 and 2 for a 4-time.
Yeah, I agree. I was probably on the second glass of red wine and was just a little bit gassed up.
All right, for those who are listening to the podcast after the fact and can't see my graphic here, or if you got your phone and you can't see because the type's too small, Fletcher had, and we just talked about it, why we don't think it's happening. It's fun. We're throwing ifs, what out. Saints trade Olave to Buffalo for the 30th pick of the draft and the 62nd pick of the draft. So the Saints would have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. In that case, Fletcher would have them picking Jaxson Dart at number 9. At number 30, picking defensive back Trey Amos, also from Ole Miss. Number 40 is Ariante Emery from Minnesota, and an offensive tackle. And number 62 is Cam Scatterbo, running back from Arizona State. Now, I want to start with Jaxson Dart because the premise of this show is draft day surprises and whether this is a draft that the Saints would even think about quarterbacks. Now, there are way more Derek Carr dislikers. I'm not going to say haters. There are way more Derek Carr dislikers or people that are fed up with Derek Carr than people who think the Saints should go forward with Derek Carr. So is this as much of I'm done, I'm fed up with Derek Carr, or do you think that Jaxson Dart is a guy that can play 10, 12 years as a starting quarterback in the NFL?
So I did a video last week. We're all in the vertical videos these days. And this is what I'm going to be consistent with this for the next month. And I'm probably not going to back off of Jaxson Dart. And here's why. Is Derek Carr is the Saints quarterback in 2025. Barring something that is just the blockbuster of blockbusters, that the Saints trade up and get Cam Ward, or some kind of craziness, they've redone Derek Carr's deal. He's their quarterback in 2025. So I'm not saying that they can't win with Derek Carr. They play in the worst division in the NFL. Like, make no mistake, the AFC South is the only one that's probably close, and it's better because Houston's a better team. The Saints division is the worst by a landslide. Like, the Bucs are just they're at their ceiling and they're 9-8 probably, okay? I have no idea what Atlanta's going to be with Michael Penix. I have no idea what Carolina is with Bryce Young, even though he played better at the end of the year. And I have no idea what the Saints are, because the team that Mickey Loomis and everybody keeps telling us is awesome hasn't been to the playoffs in 4 years, but they keep doubling down. It's the worst division in football, 100%. So they can win it with Derek Carr. They can get to 9-8 and win the division. And Derek Carr is a solid veteran quarterback. He is a 500 mid-tier quarterback in the NFL. No one should have aspirations of championship or greatness or elite play. But with this team in this division, you can absolutely justify winning and competing and being good. That being said, the reason why I have Jaxson Dart or Shedeur Sanders if he falls, I don't think Shedor's falling. That's why I keep going with Jaxson Dart. You need to have a future. You may never pick in the top 10 for years, because Derek Carr is if Derek Carr is healthy last year, you probably win 7 or 8 games, not
easily.
100%. Okay, Derek Carr's your quarterback. The Saints are probably going to go 8-9, 9-8. Maybe they fall to 7-10. Maybe they get to 10-7 and get bombed in the first round of the playoffs. You're never going to pick high enough to get a quarterback, and we don't even know who the great quarterbacks are. Arch is probably not coming out. The Mannings don't skip steps. Is Allaire at Penn State great? Is Nussmeier at LSU great? Maybe, but I have no idea. A year ago at this time, no one was talking about Cam Ward being great. 2 years ago, no one was talking about Jaden Daniels being great. You know, go back 6 years.
I don't know. I kind of was.
Who was?
I kind of was with Jaden Daniels, but I'm biased, so.
Yeah, but let me say this. But everybody, most of the draft nicks and the scouting people weren't talking about Jaden Daniels 2 overall, okay, the year before his senior year. So my thing is this. You're picking in the top 10. Get your quarterback of the future. And that, I think, is Jaxson Dart. I just have a feeling that everything about him is going to resonate with Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier, and you don't throw him to the wolves. I understand Lane Kiffin's offense is schemed up a lot of stuff against, 18-year-old college defensive backs. In the NFL, it's going to be much harder. That being said, don't play Jaxson Dart right away. Let him sit for a year. Yeah. Mahomes, and I'm not comparing Jaxson Dart to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes got drafted on potential. Alex Smith was their quarterback. Patrick Mahomes had played 3 snaps his entire college career under center. He sat for a year behind Alex Smith. He learned. He's in a good system. The rest is history. I think it's a great situation for Jaxson Dart or Shedeur Sanders, but I think Shedeur's gone. But Jaxson Dart could sit behind Carr on a veteran team with an offensive coach, learn. Derek can do whatever they do this year, and then you say, bye-bye, Derek. Jaxson takes over. And yes, you have your 10-year quarterback of the future. And so that's my logic and my reasoning, and I don't think I'm going to back off of it.
Well, I will say this part that we got some Dattitude regulars out there who are disagreeing with you. I'm going to be on your side with this one. Hakeem, love you, Hakeem. He says you don't like Rattler, but you want to draft Jaxson Dart, and who that daddy follows with. I think that Dart and Rattler are the same. I don't look again. I'm not going to sit here and bash on the Rat. I'm not doing it today. But Jaxson Dart and Spencer Rattler are far apart, in my opinion, from one another. Do I think Jaxson Dart's going to be an NFL quarterback? I said this before. I don't know. I don't really think so. However, I would probably be more inclined to say that I'd be okay with it if maybe the Saints traded down, Fletcher. I think this is a guy you could probably still get in the early 20s or even late teens. If you traded down in the late teens, you probably could get yourself, I don't know what the formula is, but I'm guessing you could probably get a second this year and maybe a third next year or something like that to trade down 8-10 spots if you wanted to do that. Again, I'm not necessarily for using – people know what I think. I think you need to go in the trenches. You need to go get your offensive lineman in the first round. However, if that's what the Saints are doing, I just would rather see them trade down, and then you could still get Jaxson Dart and get something else to go with it.
So 2 more points that I'll make on this is a year ago at this time, and I went and just did a big deep dive this morning. A year ago at this time, Michael Penix cracked the NFL.com first round for the first time, the first week of April. Bo Nix was still not considered a first-round draft pick. Okay?
That's true.
Michael Penix went 8 overall to Atlanta.
Right.
Bo Nix went 12 overall. And everybody tells me, well, Sean Payton fell in love with Bo Nix. Okay? So what? He was the 6th quarterback taken. Most people said he was a dink and dunk expert. He was 25 years old. He didn't have the arm strength. Sean Payton fell in love with him. That made him great. Like, getting your franchise quarterback is hard. If you don't have one, you're looking for one. The Saints don't have one.
I don't disagree with that at all. I agree with you.
So my point is, if not now, then when? Look, Josh Allen went 7th overall. He's the league MVP. Lamar Jackson went 32 overall. He's a 2-time MVP and was the runner-up this year in the closest race ever. Again, this talk of you got to pick 1, 2, or 3 to get your quarterback. No, you don't. James went 1. Mariota went 1 or 2. Like, there's just as many misses at 1, 2, and 3 than there are finds. So to me, you can still get your guy of the future. And this is a great situation for Shedeur or Jaxson Dart. And again, I'm Jaxson Dart because I think Shedeur's going in the top 3. And the other thing I would say is this, because you led me into this. People keep telling me, man, oh man, it's such a great draft. You can't overdraft a quarterback here. You got to get a stud in the top 10. You get that game changer in the top 10. I hear that
every day.
Okay? But here's the thing I would point out to you, and your listeners and people watching right now. In the last 10 years, okay, going back to the 2014 NFL draft through 2024, do you know how many picks at 9 overall have made the Pro Bowl? Because I'll give you the answer. 2. Okay?
In how many years? 10.
10 years.
Okay.
10 years.
Wow. That's not good.
10 years. Pat Surtain has made 4 Pro Bowls, okay, and is an absolute stud, okay? Pat Surtain is great, okay? The other one is Jalen Carter from the Philadelphia Eagles. That was the Saints pick, by the way, that Philadelphia got, okay? Other than that, 8 other guys at number 9 have not made a Pro Bowl. So everybody who wants to tell me and act like it's a guarantee that the 2nd or 3rd tackle is going to be a stud, or the 2nd wide receiver is going to be the guy, or the 2nd edge rusher is an absolute home run. I would say history tells me that the number 9 pick does not ensure that you are getting a bona fide decade-long Pro Bowl player. Look, Cam Jordan went 24. Mark Ingram went 28.
Yeah, but here, Fletch, the only thing I would ask about that is that, first of all, those are 2 defensive backs. At 9, what have those picks been the last 10 years? Have you had any offensive linemen? If their quarterback's taken at 9, were they like the 4th quarterback taken? They're not going to be in the Pro Bowl. It's going to be tougher for them to be in the Pro Bowl. So I get where you're coming from, but I think the Saints aren't in a position to draft best player available, because really that's kind of what we're almost saying here. I don't think they can do that. I don't think it's like this isn't a good enough team to draft best player available. They got to draft. I think there's no question. If you want to argue that their biggest need is on the defensive line, sure, or maybe even defensive back. I don't agree with you, but okay. But to me, quarterback is down the list because of what we said. I would rather see them, like, I don't disagree with you that you can't get Lamar Jackson, as you talked about, 31 or 32, whatever pick he was, and a 2-time MVP, almost a 3-time MVP. I think whatever quarterback you can get in the first round has the capability of being an NFL starter. That's why I just think the NFL is more quarterback rich in 2026 than it is this year. And I just think you'd be better served to go out and get what you need first. And to me, there's no question this team needs to build in the trenches first.
So let me say this. I agree with your philosophy, but I spin it on that's why it's time to get your quarterback of the future. Because here's the thing. The Saints are not one piece away from maybe breaking through. We all say this.
True.
And every expert says this. They need help. You could certainly shore up your offensive line. You could certainly shore up your defensive line. You could certainly shore up your secondary. You could certainly shore up. Alvin Kamara's getting long in the tooth. You could certainly use a big play receiver. You could certainly use a Ty Warren in that chess piece tight end that could be a game changer. So if you have 6 needs and you could say, boy, we could use any one of those guys, then you're not a great team. And this year, whatever you do is kind of, okay, we want to be competitive, but we are not one piece away from maybe saying that this young guy is going to put us over the top, or we are built to win. Now, look, in 2009, the Saints were a team that was pretty much built to win. They added Malcolm Jenkins. They added, like nice pieces in the draft, and those guys played ancillary roles. But the core of their team, you knew, was hitting its prime. Like, the expiration date would have come and gone had that team not gotten good that year. They got good that year. This team feels like it's on the tail end, and it missed its window. Like, the window with Derek Carr and Dennis in this group, it feels like that's a miss. So I look at it and say, with so many perceived needs, you can't draft 6 guys in the first round to fix those needs right away. So I say, go get your franchise quarterback, play with what you have this year, and certainly add value in. Look, you have a second, you have 2/3, you have 2/4. The Saints have done a great job of finding amazing talent and great value in those rounds. Go load up and get a whole draft class that can maybe do what the 06 draft class turned into in 09, what the 17 draft class turned into 18 to 20. Like, that's what you need. And so, again, I would say getting quarterback, this is the time to get it, since you have so many holes to fill.
Well, here's one thing I'm going to say. I'm going to compare this team. You compare them to, I don't necessarily strongly disagree with anything you say. However, I just think that if you're going to go skill position, okay, if that's what you decide you want to do, I would rather them follow kind of the 2006 mold. And I just called it up. I couldn't remember how good this draft was, but it was pretty darn good.
Oh, dude, overall. Roman in the second round.
So, you get Reggie. Of course, you had the second pick of the draft. You get Reggie Bush, and you had already made the free agent move of the century for Drew Brees. That's never going to happen again. But Roman Harper, and then Jari Evans, a stalwart Hall of Fame guard. And then Rob Ninkovich, who ended up going to play for the Patriots. Sean Payton had the right idea. He just didn't pull it off. He ended up letting him go to Bill Belichick. And then Zach Strief in the 7th round and Marcus Colston in the 7th round. So some gems there. So I would rather see, if you're going to, again, I understand your philosophy. I hear where you're coming from. If you want to make this team dynamic, I'd rather see him find a way. If it's not Ashton Genty, someone of that ilk, or, maybe we're talking about Tetaroa McMillan from Arizona or something along those lines. Again, if you're looking for dynamic, I would rather see him go do something, because they need that even more at this point than a quarterback in my position.
So I would say this. I think there's 3 players probably that trump everything. That if 3 guys I look at and say, if these guys got to number 9, it pushes everybody else off the board. And I think you just mentioned Genty as one of those guys.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I still think there's a chance the Giants could draft him at 3 overall.
Yeah, I agree.
I certainly don't think there's any chance he gets past the Raiders.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
So
I don't know.
But everybody keeps mocking him to the Raiders, and I get it. Okay. But even if it's not the Raiders,
what happens if Shedeur Sanders falls that far? I could see the Raiders taking Shedeur Sanders there.
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Geno Smith is their guy. And again, I get it. You can look at your future.
But he's 30 or whatever he is.
I know. And let me say this too. And I certainly think Brady has a relationship with Shedeur and Dion. He's a minority owner out there now.
See him being a Raider.
I certainly do. But just getting back to Genty, do the Jets pass on him? Knowing that they're going to run the ball? And I get it.
They already have 2 running backs.
I know, but I'm just saying, or how about this? Does Carolina not get Bryce Young, a stud? I get it. Carolina needs help on defense, and they've been tied to every edge rusher possible. But if Genty gets to them, and I'll say this, the Saints have Alvin Kamara. But if Genty gets to the Saints at 9 and they don't pick him, I will just be like, oh my God, what did they do? Did they just not get the best running back, in recent draft history to let him go to Dallas or Miami or another team? So I think that he is certainly one of those players. If in some insane world, because of the foot injury, Abdul Carter falls to number 9, which I can't imagine either. I just can't imagine
that ain't happening.
How he would ever get past the top 3, let alone he'll never get past Carolina at 8.
I agree with that.
I certainly think he is a game changer. I certainly think Cam Ward.
Yeah, I don't even talk about Carter, because there's no way he's making it tonight.
That's what I mean. But so Cam Ward is.
There's no way Cam Ward's making it to 9.
Cam Ward will never make it to 9. Abdul Carter will never make it to 9. Travis Hunter will never make it to 9. And Genty, to me, if he made it to 9, that is your guy. But
it's like Brock Bowers last year. If Brock Bowers would have made it to the Saints,
yes.
I as much as I was for you had to pick offensive lineman, I said the one difference maker was if Brock Bowers was available, you had to go get Brock Bowers. And he went right before the Saints.
And all the reports were the Saints were ready to run to the podium to take him. Because here's the thing. There were some mock drafts that had Bowers going like 5th to the Chargers. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like he was a surefire top 10. So the fact that he got to whatever 12 or 13 right before the Saints at 13 or 14, yes. So that's my thing with Genty is if he gets to 9, just take him. Don't think twice about it. Figure it out with him and Kamara and take him. But those are my 4 guys that if any of them, and again, Cam Ward will never get there. I don't think Carter will ever get there. I don't think Travis Hunter will ever get there. Genty's the one guy maybe gets there, and they have to take him. But again, I don't see any of those guys. And then after that, I get like Membu, the prototypical left tackle. I've watched Will Campbell play. I understand. People are crazy to talk about him not being an elite player because I think he's elite. Again, I get McMillan. But none of these guys are locks, in my opinion, to be sure. Some of them are going.
I think this whole draft, this is like the least talented draft we've had in quite a few years.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know about least talented. I just look at it and say, after maybe the first, like everybody's jumbled up. There's no clear, like, this is tier 1, this is tier 2.
I don't disagree with that.
Right. But I think that, like, you're talking tier 1 is like 2 or 3 players, and then tier 2 is probably 20 guys that you can make an argument for them anywhere from, say, 5 to 20.
Corey Terrio, I'm going to show your comment after Fletcher goes off because I want to spend 5 minutes with you, and we only have probably another 3 or 4 minutes with Fletcher. So coming back to you, Corey, don't leave. We got some other comments in the queue that I want to show because I want to wrap your segment up here, Fletch, because I made another.
Can I say one more thing before we wrap
Absolutely,
up?
sure, please.
Okay.
I got one more graphic to show.
So just so you know, just so people know, if Shedeur makes it to 9, that's my guy. But I don't think he's getting anywhere close to that. Jaxson Dart is my guy at 9. That being said, 40 is still an amazing value pick. I would be perfectly happy if the Saints drafted Quinn Ewers or Jalen Milroe at 40. I'm fine with that. That's your quarterback of the future then. And you can still have the same plan.
That happens. You're going to want to watch me on the live show. We are having a live show throughout the entire first round. I believe we're doing it the night of the second round as well. But I'm telling you, Fletch, people are going to want to watch the live. If the Saints do anything you just said, they're going to want to watch the live show. Okay, I tell you what. Do you have like 6-7 minutes to spare? Can you be on the show for like 6-7 more minutes? Because Corey wants your opinion. Okay. I'm going to say that this. Look, I call out members of my own family. It's a miracle that I have anyone come back because I make, I kind of dog some comments when I think they're dumb, and this one's dumb. So I'm going to throw it out there anyway. But Corey Terrio, I love you because you are a member of the Dattitude family. If the rat is so bad, I like how he puts this in parentheses because he knows what I'm going to say. If the rat is so bad, put him in and lose every game, not on purpose. But you would be losing him on purpose if you put him in. If he's so bad, put him in, lose every game, and then you get a top 3 pick and find your franchise quarterback next year. He wants your opinion on that because he knows what my opinion is.
That's just hard. It's hard to tell professional athletes, organizations, their goal is to win. And look, the NFL, Sean Payton used to say this all the time. In baseball and basketball, you get tanking. The Pelicans are tanking right now. They've sat everybody. They want the draft pick. They don't want to win. They're playing a bunch of guys from their G League team. In the NFL, there is no such thing as tanking. And that hurt the Giants last year. The Giants played to win, won the game, lost the number 1 pick. The NFL will never, ever, it's just the mindset, the way it operates. Players can't go through that. They'll be out of jobs the next year. So that mindset, it can't be by design. It has to be by coincidence. So if Derek Carr blows his knee out in training camp and the Saints play Spencer Rattler and they go 2-15, that would not be by design. It would be by a bad set of circumstances in coincidence. That's why I feel like drafting the quarterback at 8 or 9 this year is important, because the Saints, look, we can all pile on Mickey Loomis. We can talk about what they've done and how they've built to the middle. They're never bad. Like, they're too good to be bad.
I've been saying that for months.
They're not good enough to be great. And
Correct.
Look, you owe it to DeMario, Cam, Alvin, these guys, McCoy. They are professionals who want to win, who want to play hard. Never in a million years could you sell them on, guys, go out there and put your body on the line.
No, not when you ask them to take you got Cam Jordan to take a pay cut. Is it fair to Cam Jordan? There's a really good chance this is the last year he plays football.
Sure.
Is it fair to Cam Jordan to ask him to take a pay cut, and then you say, guess what? By the way, we're going to go 5-12 next year. Sorry.
Right. No, that's what I mean. It just can't happen. Look, and I would also point this out. Who's that great quarterback next year? Because everybody, look, I've known the Mannings my whole life, and I'm not going to act as if I have inside intel of Cooper's thought process, but I can tell you one thing. Arch Manning,
I don't think he's coming out.
Neither do I, because here's the thing. He started 2 games. Even if Texas gets to the playoffs, he'll have started 15.
The Mannings have shown that they don't come out, that they're okay staying in college another year.
This is the thing. Bill Parcells said he was going to draft Peyton Manning #1 overall to the Jets in 1997. Peyton went back for his senior year. He still went #1 overall to the Colts in 98. Eli was a redshirt senior. He could have come out after his true senior season. He was a bona fide first-round draft pick. He went back for his 5th season. He became the #1 overall pick in the draft. Yeah. Arch Manning, Cooper understands this, Archie, Eli, Peyton. Getting a lot of starts and being NFL ready is important for Arch. So everybody who keeps talking about tank for Arch ain't coming. Maybe if Arch won the Heisman and Texas won the national championship.
Well, just not only that, Fletcher, there's no guarantee even if he was coming out next year. You can't guarantee.
I know.
I mean, you would literally have to try to lose every game on purpose, and then you're still not even guaranteed to be the worst team in the league.
This is the thing. One, is Arch going to be a stud? I think he is, but he started 2 games. Let's let him play first,
exactly.
Okay?
Let's see.
So, and then 2, here's the thing. I love Garrett Nussmeier. I think if Nussmeier would have come out, he'd be where Jaxson Dart is right now, okay? But here's the thing. Quinn Ewers was there last year, and he regressed a little bit. So is Nussmeier the guy? Is Alar from Penn State the guy? I have no idea. So when people say, just be bad and get your quarterback next year, okay? Who's that quarterback?
I don't know, but every year some quarterback rises up. I mean,
100%.
I don't think anybody. Look, I thought Jaden Daniels was fine in his junior season, just like Joe Burrow was not good at all his junior season. His senior year, he became had one of the greatest quarterback seasons, if not the greatest quarterback season in the history of college football. Jaden Daniels, to me, improved so much from his junior year to senior. Whether it's Garrett Nussmeier or someone else, someone's going to rise up that board, and I just don't think to reach. And by the way, you gave the politically nice answer that I probably wouldn't have given to Corey Terrio about why you don't start Spencer Rattler. Nice job there, Fletcher. But, so we don't know what's going to – you can't sit here on April 2nd and say, well, next year there's going to be the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks because of X, Y, and Z. We don't even know who's coming out. You don't know who's going to rise up. You don't know who the surprise is going to be. I wouldn't have told you last year that I thought Jaxson Dart could even possibly be if this time last year, there's no way in hell I would have said Jaxson Dart potentially could be a first-round draft pick. But you know what? He is now.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's the thing. And look, that's what's great about the draft. So we can go back and cue this up in 3 years if Jaxson Dart is helping the Saints win the Super Bowl, or we can go cue it up if he's out of the league and he's at an MBA business school at the Wharton School of Business at Penn because he stunk so bad, he's not even in the NFL anymore. Somebody's going to be right. Somebody's going to be wrong. That's the thing. Is it's a crapshoot. And look, the Saints unfortunately have go by the size and the speed. Go with what can't be taught. Hasn't really worked out. Trevor Penning, Peyton Turner, Marcus Davenport. I get it. They have followed that playbook. Go get that stud that could become something special. And they have just gone whiff. So to me, I tell all people about the top 10.
They didn't work for Eric McCoy.
Well, he was a 2nd round draft pick, though. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like, that's the thing. Like, that's where they've done great. is like second and third and fourth rounders. They just swung and missed on. I get what they're doing. You got to swing for the fences and upside with some of those first round draft picks. They've just done such a poor job identifying it. I don't want another, hey, let's go for Ted McMillan because his measurables are off the charts and he's got an RAS score of 9 and he could be Megatron. But maybe he's just not. Maybe he's just average. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Sometimes you got to say maybe. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. You've opened my mind a little bit. Maybe I'm not as staunch against a court. We'll see. But I want to end this segment with you on this because I came out. I guess I don't know if I didn't come at me, bro, in social media, but you put together this potential trade with Tennessee. Now, look, I do think I think Cam Ward is the only, and this includes Shedeur Sanders. I'm sorry. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to be an NFL quarterback. Prove me wrong. Go ahead, whatever. But I do think Cam Ward has a solid potential to be a starting quarterback and a really good starting quarterback in the NFL. All that being said, he probably still would have been the 5th or 6th best quarterback in last year's draft. You put together a potential trade that I did stir the pot with on social media, and I want to show it up here.
Yeah, I love it. This I love.
Now, if the Saints did this, here's another example of if they do this, you're going to want to tune into the live show here on this same social media channel and on the NOAA.com Saints Insider show. We have it running at the same time on each channel. But the Saints would get the number 1 pick from the Tennessee Titans for Derek Carr, who would have to waive his no trade clause, Nick Saldiveri, a first-round pick this year, they're number 9, first-round pick at 26, first-round pick at 27, and the third-round pick this year, Fletcher Mackel. You gotta prove to me that Cam Ward is worth all of that. That's a lot.
I mean, here's the thing. Look, that trade is better than, it's just a little bit richer than what Carolina gave up to get number 1. From Carolina went from 9 to 1 to get Bryce Young. And they gave up their best offensive player who was a 3-time Pro Bowler. That's why I had to throw the 27 number 1 pick in to that, because they gave up a star player, 2 firsts, and then a couple of value picks. I had to add in the additional first because it's Derek Carr. And look, Carr has a familiarity with the Tennessee Titans staff. It would definitely nuke the cap a little bit this year. But if Cam Ward is your guy and you have conviction about, there's no doubt in my mind, he's going to turn into a generational Super Bowl champion quarterback, then just go get him. Like that. And again, I don't think Tennessee would do this deal. I think Tennessee, if they trade,
I think they'd do it in a heartbeat.
Do you? I don't think they would. I don't think so. And let me say this, and here's why. I think they got a new stadium. They're looking for a face of the franchise. They need, going from 1 to 2 or 3, maybe 4 for them, but New England isn't coming up that high.
They'd be foolish not to do that trade.
Then they should do it. And this is the reason why I say that. Okay, I'll explain it. Just kind of what I laid out before. The Saints historically have not done the most amazing job at drafting first-round draft picks, even before Jeff Ireland got here, okay? So if Cam Ward is your guy, okay, I look at it and I say, go get your quarterback because that trumps everything. If he and Kellen Moore are a marriage made in heaven and this is going to be perfect synergy for a decade, then go do it. Because here's the thing. Look at the picks after the Saints got good. It was, if Cam Ward helps make you good, okay? Like, and I'm not saying he's going to be Jaden Daniels in year 1, but...
No, he ain't going to be Jaden Daniels.
But here's the thing. Those picks, you can overcome the loss of, because, like I said, look, after the Saints won the Super Bowl, they drafted Patrick Robinson. He was okay. He wasn't anything special. In 2010, the Saints drafted... they drafted P-Rob that year. In 2011, they certainly got Cam Jordan and did a great job with that pick. But in 13, their draft, again, was trading up for Brandon Cooks. Nice guy, nothing special. And then you start going through those years in like 15, like Andres Pete, like in 16. Like, again, I'm not saying that like Sheldon Rankins wasn't good, but like...
he wasn't good. You could say it.
But the thing is this, I would give up. And then in recent years, Davenport, Turner, Ruiz, like the Saints haven't knocked it out the park and found generational talents in the first round. So my point being is, if you absolutely have conviction about Cam Ward and you absolutely think he is the next Jaden Daniels, Cam Newton, CJ Stroud, young stud to reinvigorate this fan base, to reinvigorate your franchise, then just go do it and don't think twice about it.
I think there would be a way better chance that Tennessee would accept it before Derek Carr would waive his no trade clause to go to the worst team in the NFL. And Tennessee's the worst team in the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And secondly, you're talking about the Saints, who not only would they have to give up 3 first-round picks, but they'd have to eat a significant chunk of Derek Carr's salary to even be able to do that. So you're talking about having all this dead cap money to go out and not have 3 first-round draft picks to go get a Cam Ward. I just don't see how that's even feasible. It's fun.
Sure.
I just don't think it's feasible.
Yeah, again, look, this is the other thing I said, too, about Mickey Loomis, is right now, I feel like he is kind of boring us and lulling us into sleep. So
I don't disagree with that
like
at all.
everything is on the edges, kind of mid-move, so to say. Like, yeah, solid. Brandon Cooks, he'll be 3 or 4. Like, re-signing Chase Young is fine. Like, but does it really move the needle? Juwan Johnson, sure. Like, Justin Reed, I get it. Like, but this isn't like, holy cow, what did they do? This is it. You know what I mean? These are all. But my thing is Mickey, I know, has been a poker player his whole life. He likes poker.
So am I.
He's a gambler. Here's the thing. This is a guy who gambled the day after Nick Saban failed Drew Brees on a physical, and their doctor said, we'd rather take Culpepper coming off a torn ACL than this dude coming off a shoulder injury. The Saints signed him. Now, they didn't have a lot of choices, but the Saints signed him to a 6-year, $60 million contract and said, we are not drafting Matt Leinart, Vince Young, or Jay Cutler. Drew Brees is our quarterback. The hell with him not being able to pick up a football right now. That is a gutsy, all-in, like, gamble that you make. The Saints unapologetically chased Deshaun Watson when he was one of the most toxic human beings in the NFL. They sent Dale Benson to meet with him, and they went as hard after him as they did anyone. Then a year later, bidding against no one, they bid against themselves to give Derek Carr the richest deal in the history of the franchise, to give Dennis what he wanted, to prove Derek was good, to send a message. That's 3 bold moves at the quarterback position. That's why I think, go do it, Mickey. Trade 3 first-round draft picks and go get Cam Ward. Continue your track record of being a brazen gambler.
We brought Fletcher Mackel on the show today to have fun, and I think we had some fun, Fletch. Again, there's a lot of things you said that I agree with. I definitely don't agree with all those things to do to go get Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward can be a fine quarterback in the NFL. I definitely think he's the best quarterback available in this draft. He's almost certainly going to be the number 1 pick one way or the other. But hey, that's why we talk about these things ahead of time. People think it's just clickbait, but we're doing it to talk and just show you there are options. There are things that could be done. Let's have fun with it. And what else are you going to do in April when you got 3 weeks left to the draft other than have fun? That's what we're doing.
And that's the thing. And look, and here's the thing. There's always unpredictable, crazy stuff.
That's right.
Look, last year, and I don't love the Falcons, obviously, but last year the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins to a $100+ million deal.
Look genius drafting Penix now, don't they?
And draft Penix at 8 overall. Last year, people said Bo Nix was a massive reach. Sean Payton took
I said it.
And he won 10 games and turned into the runner-up offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Or one of the top rookies in the NFL at the quarterback position. And so, again, crazy things happen. Who knows? You're right. This is what it's all about, shaping decisions and kind of shaping the debate, so to say, about what is possible. And look, I'm open to other people. I get it. I understand I am in the minority. They are probably going to take Armand Membu or Jalen Walker. They're going to build in the trenches like they always do. They're going to try to say this team can win, and they're built to win now. But my biggest takeaway is this. Dell Demps, when he was with the Hornets, was a all-in-the-moment guy. He was one of the worst general managers in NBA history. David Stern said it. There was never any future. It was always trading draft picks, doing everything to win right now when they weren't even that good. That's what the Saints are right now. They aren't even that good, but the moves they're making are all in moves as if they're the Philadelphia Eagles or the Detroit Lions that everybody knows is on the cusp. And the only people that can't see that they're on the cusp are them. But I'm trying to give them credit in saying that they see a future out there that isn't just this all-in absurdity.
Hindsight, last question. Hindsight is 2020, obviously. But go back 19 years, okay? And we know what Drew Brees is now. No one had any clue, idea. Nobody knew who Sean Payton was. Nobody knew who Drew Brees was, whatever. Who in the hell thought the New Orleans Saints would go to this NFC Championship game in the 2006 season? Not a single. If you say yes, you're a lying SOB. No one even thought the Saints would win 8 games in 2006, but yet they went to the NFC Championship game, and had it not been rainy and Reggie Bush couldn't get his footing, and who knows, when they might have beat Rex Grossman and gone to the Super Bowl that year. Who knows? And they did go to the Super Bowl 3 years later. I'm just saying, you play to win the game, and this team may not be as far off as people think they are. And I'm usually Derry Downer, but I just think that this team is not as bad as everybody thinks they are. So win now.
I agree with you. I agree. You realize this 2 years ago, they went 9-8. If they don't blow the lead against Green Bay, they win the division. That's
and they
10.
start 3-0, 100%.
And here's the thing. And they also almost complete that comeback against the Jaguars. They were easily a 10 or 11 win team, okay? But they weren't. They were 9. And then the wheels came off this year, so to say. That's what I always tell people. Mickey, Jeff, Kai, Michael Parrington, these guys are really good. They're really good. They're never going to be bad. This team is never going to be that far up. They will never be one of these wasteland franchises that just screws everything up. But they do need force multipliers for greatness.
I don't disagree with that.
Right now, I don't know if maybe Kellen Moore is going to get the greatest season out of Derek Carr that any coach has, because he is truly an offensive genius that will scheme everybody to death. And we are going to be talking about Mickey was right. They were close. Everybody is wrong. And Mickey can, tell everybody, you see, I actually knew way more than any prognosticator or anybody. But it's going to take Kellen Moore turning Derek Carr into a top 10 quarterback, no doubt about it.
Well, Fletch, it's time flies by when you're having fun, and we had an hour together this morning. I appreciate you so much of spending that much time. It was going to be a half an hour segment turned into an hour. It's because we had a lot of fun, and we just kept going, and the people were enjoying it. So, Fletch, I'm going to have you back on after the draft so we can kind of look back, and then I can get your opinion on how the Saints did and whether we agree with what they did or didn't agree.
Cool.
We'll see you then. Thank you so much, my friend. Fletcher Mackel, everybody. WDSU. Check him out. Oh, he's on all the time. He and Sharif Ishak are great together. I love them. And they have their Game On show on Sunday nights. Check that out as well on 1035 on WDSU and WDSU Sports. Look, like I said, I don't necessarily, not necessarily, I don't agree with the trading up and spending that much capital to go out and get a Cam Ward, who I think is, this is my opinion. I think Cam Ward is the only legitimate NFL quarterback in this draft. That's, again, my opinion. My opinion doesn't mean squat. I'm not just not paying it. I'm not going to pay what it takes. Who that daddy? Good stuff, Fletcher. Enjoyed the interview. There's a comment from back here. We're going to get to Gabe in a few minutes. I got to tell you more about my friends at Evangeline in just a minute. Ryan said he thinks Arch comes out in the 2026 draft. I wish we would trade back and get some 2026 picks that would get packaged with some picks next year and move up. That might be a big future gamble. The problem with that, Ryan, is even if I don't think he's coming out, but second of all, you couldn't trade for enough picks to try to do that. You're trying to get ahead of something when you're trying to fix this team now. I said this a bunch of times, and here's the thing. You're not going to besides what I said about Cam Jordan and maybe it's the Mario Davis's last year and who knows. And the players that you owe it to try to be good this year. You're just not going to be bad on purpose. I'm sorry. You're just not going to do it. You're going to do whatever. And I'm like, well, then you don't have to try to be good. Bullshit. You have to go out of your way to try to put your best team together. Okay. You have to try to win. I don't care what anybody says. If you say anything different, I'm not going to agree with you. Okay. You could say it. I'll show it. We'll talk about it, but I'm not going to agree with you. It's not fair to a lot of players in this team who have busted their asses for however long. Man, you can hate Derek Carr all you want, but besides all of that, okay, besides the fact that it's not fair to the players, you are not, and I've said this before too, regulars have heard me say this, you are not going to bring in a rookie head coach at 35 years old, 36 years old, or however old Kellen Moore is. You're not going to do it and set him up to fail. You're just not. And so that being said, you're going to have him help. He's going to be way more a part of what happens in that draft room than Dennis Allen was. And Gary, you don't know how big. I can tell you that Dennis Allen wasn't anywhere near a part of this draft. I'm not saying he wasn't in there and a part of it. He wasn't making decisions like Sean Payton was making decisions. Is Kellen Moore going to have that kind of leeway? Maybe not at first, but it's going to be more so. I think you're bringing him in. You're starting over. You want him to be in the Sean Payton ilk, the mold of Sean Payton 20 years ago. You're going to let him have a big say. Who dat daddy? You play to win the game. Hakeem says he agrees that Cam Ward is the only quarterback worthy of a first-round pick. I mean, again. While Crawford says, good show today. Fletcher was fun. We're not done yet. We still got like 20, 30 minutes left. We got to get to Gabe because I don't even have any idea what Gabe's going to say. And you don't want to miss Man versus the Machine. If you have not been staying around to the end of the show for Man versus Machine, we're having fun with it. Telling you. Jay Tucker Rafferty says that Kellen Moore doesn't take the job without major say in the personnel. Apathy says he never believed Arch was coming out in 26. His team's in a hunt for the title. They'll be in the playoff unless injuries kill Texas. Like Fletcher said, let's see what Arch can do. I mean, look, I had the pleasure of calling Arch's games, doing play-by-play. I was play-by-play for the last high school game Arch ever played. It didn't go well for him, but I saw him play plenty. And I'm just saying, I think he's going to be a great college quarterback. I think he's going to be a really good pro quarterback. We don't know. You can't say, oh, hold out and wait for Arch. First of all, again, besides all that, there's no way you're going to be bad enough to get the first pick of the draft or the second pick or the third pick even. Anyway, plenty of time to talk about that as we move on. I don't know who our guest is Friday yet. I'm going to reach out and see if Larry's available. I've been reaching out to him. He's been having stuff going on Friday, so he's not been available. We'll see. I know that next week, Monday is Mono E Monday again. And next Wednesday, we'll talk Saints and we'll talk Masters with our own Scott Rabelais, who will be in Augusta. So we're going to have our Masters preview. And I think Uncle Big Nick might come on and make his prediction. We'll see how it goes. And soon we're going to be debuting a new segment on a Friday. It's not going to be this Friday, but coming up soon, we joked about it before, but I think it's going to become a reality. Dumbass of the Week. We have a Dumbass of the Week segment on Fridays. We'll see. Coming up soon. But first, we told you earlier, we were letting you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it, you ask? Well, after their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the world, and they will maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, none with their dedication and success, and none of them have eyes that look like this. Perfectly healthy over there. They are fully licensed and they're ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It ain't Cam Ward, it ain't Jaxson Dart, and it ain't who the Saints draft in the first round. What's really important? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. UBN's here, so we can start now. You missed it. You missed Fletcher. Saints fan says he doesn't see the Saints losing 7 games straight or 4 games straight like they did last year. I'm with you. I mean, they could lose 4 games straight, I guess. They ain't losing 7 games straight. It's hard to do that. I mean, it's really hard to lose 7 games in a row. I mean, you almost have to go. You have to be not just be bad, but you kind of have to go out of your way. And then you lose 7 games in a row, and then you play the Falcons at home after you get rid of your coach, and you win. So go figure. How do you measure that, Gabe Henderson?
How do you measure what?
I mean, losing 7 games in a row, and then now I'm not saying the Atlanta Falcons are world beaters, but By the way, A-Town said he's waiting for the "What Really Grinds My Gears" segment. That doesn't have a ring to it.
You get that every time I come on.
You're right. You grind my gears. What are you going to grind my gears with today?
Well, I did want to talk about this.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Corey said, "What happens if we start Derek Carr and we still end up with picks 1 through 3?" Well, Corey, you pick 1 through 3.
That's zero chance.
You pick 1 through 3.
If I will bet I'll give you 50-1 odds. Okay, 50-1 odds that if Derek Carr starts, I'll say 16 games, so he can miss one. There is 0.0 chance the Saints finish 1 through 3. What is it wrong with people who think okay, they're not a great team with Derek Carr. We've talked about this. They're not a great team with Derek Carr quarterback. They're not a bad team. They'll never be that bad if he starts that many games. 0.0. Go ahead. That's what grinds my gears. There you go.
I wouldn't say 0.0 because there is a chance, albeit slight, that he comes out with the noodle arm that Drew Brees had his last year, and they could be that bad. I don't think it'll happen.
Not at this age.
But
I gotta say hello to my nephew out there, Bo Foreman. What are you doing? Aren't you working right now? Screw the football talk. It's baseball season. You want me to talk about your Braves? What are they, 0-6?
They're the last winless team in the league, yes.
Yeah. I'll talk about the Braves if you want me to, but later. All right. Anyway, Who Dat Daddy says hello.
Hello. To answer your question from earlier, the thing I wanted to talk about today was NBA MVP.
Okay. Which has nothing to do with this slide, but I didn't make a slide for you. So
yeah, it's okay. I've been busy this morning. I've got landscaping people coming over. I was walking my dog. I'm working. So I didn't get a chance to think about this.
NBA, by the way, we're gonna Gabe's gonna talk about NBA MVP. We're gonna have man versus machine. I'm gonna end this show with my take on some of the things Fletcher said and maybe a few more comments. We're gonna end with Saints today. So there you go. But I will show this comment before you get the NBA MVP. All right, I've shown a lot of Who Dat Daddy comments today. You have absolutely no use for Carr. In your opinion, he couldn't catch a catfish and cut off Louisiana. Well, he's not supposed to catch catfish or footballs. He's there to throw them. I get that you hate Derek Carr. I understand that.
He throw.
You broke up there. What'd you say?
That's a pretty football.
Yeah, it's fine. Throws a deep ball. Anyway, NBA. We're gonna wrap it up with Saints in a little bit. What is your NBA MVP chat? Because whatever you're gonna say, I'm not gonna disagree with you because I haven't watched enough NBA this year to disagree with you.
Well, I mean, did you see what Jokic did last night?
No, I did not actually.
I
was watching the Cubs-A's game.
Bubble. Surprise. He went 6-10. And that has really sparked a debate about the NBA MVP.
Okay. How so?
And, well, Jokic is currently averaging a triple-double on the season. If he completes it, which I don't think there's any way he can't at this point. I don't know. I haven't plugged in his stats, but if he averaged 0, 0, and 0 over the next 6 games,
yeah,
I don't think it would be enough to bring him down past that. So I think he's going to average a triple-double. It will become the 5th season in NBA history to do so, joining Russell Westbrook with his 3 or 4, I'm pretty sure it's 3, and Oscar Robertson.
Okay.
Only one of those players has ever won MVP before, and that was Russell Westbrook.
But yet he's plus 900, and there's only 2 people you can vote on, either him or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who's minus 2,000.
Yes, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the thing I wanted to talk about is everyone has discredited his season, saying that, oh, if Jokic averages a triple-double, he deserves to win the MVP. He's been the best player, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. I think SGA has been the best player in the league. That is evidenced by him leading the league in net rating. He's leading the league in a lot of efficiency metrics as well.
Well, he's going to win it if his numbers are high.
He is going to win it, and he should. And a lot of people are quick to. There's been a whole narrative that.
I'll see if it's any different on Caesars while you're talking. Go ahead.
No, I mean the lowest odds you can find anywhere on SGA right now are on ESPN Bet. He's minus 2,000.
Well, that's what he was on DK.
Yeah. He was minus 3,300 last night at a lot of places. So this, while it moved the needle,
minus 3,000 at Caesars.
Yeah, he's going to win the MVP, and there's just been a lot of talk. A lot of people have said, it's because he gets a soft whistle. He gets to the free throw line more than anyone else. Which I actually dove into a piece that I wrote today. He leads the NBA in drives. He drives to the basket more than 20 times a game, which I believe is like 2.5 or 3 drives more than Jalen Brunson in second. So of course he's going to get a whistle. He's second in the NBA in free throw attempts behind Giannis. He just makes hits at a higher clip. So a lot of people say that, he's a free throw merchant and all that, but he's averaging 33 points a game right now, essentially. I believe it's like 22.8. And not only is he doing that, while yes, Jokic is doing everything for the Denver Nuggets, and if you've seen some of the videos with his assists, it's terrible. The Nuggets will start the possession by one of their guards bringing it up. They'll toss it down to Jokic down low, and then he'll kick it back out, and the guard can dribble drive, or they can pull up 10 seconds later.
You're making me like, I don't.
And they give him an assist.
You're making me want to watch the NBA less than I already watched them, which is hardly any. You're not firing me up about the NBA.
I don't. That's not what I'm here to do.
No, and I will say this, and look, I'll admit it. This is the least amount of NBA I've watched in probably the last 15, 20 years, and I didn't even miss it at all. Like not even a little bit. I don't know what they would have to do to get me back in and get me fired up. And it's not just because the Pelicans sucked. I mean, that didn't help. But it's usually when I would come home from doing whatever, I leave my studio, whatever. I don't have a game, whatever. I'm going to watch the NBA because for a lot of the year that's all it's on. And I just didn't this year. Just didn't care.
You're going to want to watch the playoffs. The playoffs are.
I guess I probably will. I probably will.
The last thing I'll say on why this season has been so impressive, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, SGA is having a top 5 season ever from a guard.
Yeah.
He's the only player who's top 10 in offensive and defensive rating, and he's top 5 in both metrics. I mean, he's not only doing it on one side. He's not doing what James Harden did a few years ago.
No, I hear you.
Where he was great offensively, and then he just didn't give much effort on defense. I mean, the Thunder are historically good this season. They're on pace to set the record for margin of victory in the NBA with 13 points a game. They could still win 70 games, and they're atop the Western Conference, which is stacked by 13, 14 games, I would assume.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you said, and I don't disagree with anything you said. However, and again, I haven't watched enough to disagree with you, even if I wanted to. However, one thing I don't like is so often when we pick an MVPs, we just pick whoever we think the best player is from the best team. And I hate that. So I'm not saying that's what's being done here. SGA, well, whatever, but I just, I get how great Oklahoma City is. They started off on this ridiculous clip, them and Cleveland. And, so it is what it is. But I just hate that I hope we're not just automatically giving it to
No, they're not. And this is one more metric that I'll give you to prove that we're not. Shea leads the league in scoring.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, 32.8 points per game. Do you know where he is in minutes per game, Jim?
Well, they win a lot of games by a shit ton, so he probably comes out early.
He's tied for 34th in minutes played, and he leads the league in scoring.
38.
He's genuinely one of the most efficient seasons I've ever seen from
he's a scorer, no doubt about it.
He's absolutely a scorer, and he plays defense too.
Before we move on, Corey, I can answer this question. He wants to know who needs to put on money for the MVP. The answer is no one, because there's no value on anyone. We just told you that the best number you can get on SGA, who's going to win this. I mean, theoretically, and I'm not one to advocate this. I know a lot of people do. There are a lot of experts who say, if you have the capital to go do it, go put $2,000 on SGA to win 100. I think it's dumb to do that. Yeah. But some people advocate doing that. I don't. So if you want to go put $2,000 to win $100 or $200 to win 10 on SGA because he's going to win it, then go ahead and do it. But if something weird happens and SGA, I don't know, gets in a fight on the court, punches someone, and Jokic goes off, it still ain't going to happen probably. But if you want to, I'm just saying. I wouldn't do it.
Jokic had a 61-point triple-double last night.
Yeah, no. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I wouldn't do it.
So, and if you're looking to bet NBA MVP, that ship has sailed. Yeah. If I were to tell someone you had to put money down on it. You know what's sad is I bet money on SGA last year. Yeah. If I had to recommend doing something now, I'd say throw a $5 on Jokic just in case. He's not going to win it, but if he did, it would be a decent payout. There's no value in betting on SGA at this point.
No. All right, let's move on, and it's time for our segment that we've been doing for 2 weeks now and having a lot of fun. Maybe not as much you as me.
Staple on this show.
Man versus the machine. And if you're not familiar with how we've been doing this, is basically I ask AI before we go in the air, what is its best top sports pick of the day? And then I read you the reasoning for the machine's pick of the day. And you can either go with the machine or you can go against the machine. You have now gone against the machine 3 out of 4 times. The one time you went against the machine, you were incorrect. No, wait. Yeah. No, you were right. The one time you went against the machine, one time I don't know, whatever. When you with the machine, you were wrong.
The one time I picked against the machine, I was right.
All right, so here we go. Whatever. The pick from Monday, by the way, was, and it's kind of funny, and I'm going to make fun of myself here. The pick was the machine got its first win of the year because it picked the Brewers-Royals game over 8.5 runs scored, and I was talking about that I thought the Brewers pitching staff was okay, and the Brewers proceed to lose 11-1.
11-1.
So the machine got it right. Gabe went against the machine. He got it wrong. And here we are. Both the machine and the man are 1-3. So
let me just say this before you read the pick. We're going to have to start asking it for later picks if needs be.
I did. I had to do that today.
Well, this game is already underway.
I thought it started at
It's already underway.
Oh, shoot. I thought it started at 6 o'clock. I purposefully looked for a game that was going to be later. And what's the score?
1-0 Pirates.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll let you.
I would. You know what? I will look up the odds while you read why, and then I will give you my pick live.
Okay. Well, I'll. Not really. I thought I did this. Man, we are not having a great start with this segment here at all. By the way, the odds are plus 140 for the Rays now. So whatever. You can do it whatever way you want. I'm not going to chastise you. However, the Machine's Wednesday pick, which is totally screwed up, and you've really ruined my day now.
Sorry.
Is the Rays minus 125 over the Pirates, which is currently Rays plus 140 as they play. And again, it is 1-0 Pirates. Paul Skeens is pitching. That's even whatever. It's in the third inning. It's 1-0 Pirates. Son of a bitch. Anyway, Rays minus, we'll say plus 150 over the Pirates. Here's the breakdown. Ryan Pepio takes the mound for the Rays. He's been sharp early in 2025. And last year, he posted a 3.64 ERA across 26 appearances, showing he can handle lineups when he keeps his walks in check. The Pirates counter with Mitch Keller, except they didn't. They're using Paul Skeens. Sons of bitches. Who's coming off a solid 2024 and has historically struggled against Tampa Bay. AI is one dumb MF. The Rays have won 4 of the last 5 against Pittsburgh, and their offense, led by Yandy Diaz, could exploit Keller or Skeens, whoever, tendency to give up hard hit contact. What say you, Gabe Henderson? Are you going with the machine or against the machine who's already in a hole?
Let me preface my analysis with this. Can we put an asterisk next to this pick?
No, we don't do asterisks. Just like when I'm doing play-by-play, my color man, who's Jim Rapier, has been doing it with me for 10 years. He finally stopped asking about 3 years ago. He used to ask to do Coke players of the game, and I'm like, we don't do Coco. So I don't do Coco and I don't do asterisks. So no, pick one.
Well, okay.
Even if it's not fair, you get an advantage if you win.
I was going to go with the Pirates because of Skeens pitching. So I guess if you want my original pick, I was going to fade the machine.
I want you to give me. If it's cheating, who gives a damn? We can do whatever the hell we want. The machine's got an advantage, and they stink anyway. So they think they know everything. Damn machine. Robot doesn't know jack crap. Pick whoever the hell you want.
So my original pick was Pirates because of the Skeens factor,
okay,
which AI didn't consider.
That's right.
Now that you give me plus 140 odds on the Rays money line, I'm tempted to go with the Rays.
Final answer, sir.
Give me the Rays. I like the value on the Rays.
Oh my God, he's gonna go. The dumbass it was minus 125 and he was going to take the Pirates, and now that it's plus 140, he's going to take the Rays. A-Town says the segment is giving him a good laugh. It's giving me a headache. I don't know what I spent too much time in this in the morning. Obviously, I didn't spend time.
Here's my reasoning for doing that.
He's going with the machine. Gabe is with the machine and taking the Rays over the Pirates. Go ahead.
We are now in the third inning. Paul Skeens is pitching a gem, and the Pirates aren't giving him any run support.
They are not. You're right.
This is a tale as old as time.
Just like
and
the
if you're
Marlins
gonna give me
last week.
If you're going to give me the better ball club at plus money now to stay alive while Skeens is on the mound and then rock the relief pitching, which I don't know if you saw, they sent David Bednar down to AAA last night after his rough start.
I knew they were going to, and now it's possible Dennis Santana is the closer of the Pirates. Not Carlos Santana. That would be much better musically. Dennis Santana.
That would be smooth of them.
Very smooth.
We need to end this show, Jim. I'm making
we
music
really do.
puns now.
It's really. Well, you should listen to my play-by-play. It's a thing for us to do musical references.
Anyway, I would go. I trust the Rays lineup to stay in it and rough up the Pirates bullpen. Give me the Rays at plus money. I hate doing it. I'm going with the machine again.
Even with Paul Skeens, who's already winning 1-0 in the third. Go ahead. You can bet it live if you want. You heard Gabe Henderson say he's with the machine. Okay, so here's my idea for going forward with the segment. We've already tweaked it once.
Okay.
I think we should tweak it again.
All right.
I think that you should give me your pick, and then we'll ask the machine what it thinks. And maybe it'll be the machine versus man. And that way, I don't have to ask it 3 times or find a game that's in the evening, because I will already know that you have scoured the internets. Damn internets. And,
put it this way.
Let's try that Friday.
I like that idea because usually I'm up early in the morning writing content for the day, and I can give more well-informed picks on what I'm writing.
Okay.
As opposed to this.
And then I can say, who do you like in the Rays Pirates game if that's what you were to pick? All right. So we're changing this segment again because the damn machine can't figure out who's playing at what time and who's even pitching. You'd think it would know. AI is supposed to know everything. It's going to take over the world, everybody. Just saying, we're going to change it to machine versus man instead of man versus the machine. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
See you later, Gabe. I'm getting pissed off now. I'll see you on Friday. Piece of crap machine. Ruining my day. What's up, Tedders? Hello. Who had daddy? You think this is funny? Machine can't get anything right. I thought AI was taking over the world. It can't even figure out who's pitching for the Pirates or when this game's going to be. How the hell is AI going to take over the world if it can't tell me who's going to win the Rays Pirates game and that it's Mitch Keller is no Paul Skeens? Sack of crap. Anyway, let's wrap up this show. You got about 5 minutes to make your final comment. Some news for you to know, I think. I'm going to be on 2 shows tomorrow. Count them 2. They always so I went to the dermatologist yesterday to get this eye thing fixed. By the way, if you're just joining us, this is what happens at my house when you don't do the dishes. Yeah, I use that joke already if you've been listening since the beginning. Now, I've got a blocked eye follicle. All of you are excited to know that. Anyway, I got to go. Of course, the week that I look like this, I get asked to go on 2 TV shows on the same day. The funny thing is, so Garland Gillen asked me to go on Final Bet. I haven't been on in about a month and a half, and I usually go on like every 3 weeks or so. So I'm going on Final Bet, and then like 3 minutes later, I get asked by Eric Asher to go on Inside New Orleans. And I said, well, I already told Garland I was going to go on. He goes, that's funny because Garland's my guest. So I'm going on Inside New Orleans. That's being taped at 1 o'clock or something like that. And then we're going to tape Final Bet. Anyway, you can find Inside New Orleans. Just look up Eric Asher on X. You can find out where the show is going to be on. He's got his own YouTube channel. And then the Final Bet is on Fox 8. That is on tomorrow night at 10:35. Again, Fox 8. If you're in and around the New Orleans area. And we're talking, apparently, I know on Final Bet, we're talking Saints over-unders, 6.5. Most of y'all know what I think about that. I'm not giving any official pick on a Saints record until I see what they do in the draft. That being said, I think you jump on 6.5. It's not going to stay there. If you want to get in an over-under bet on the Saints, do it now. Unless you want to bet the under. If you think they're going to stink, like Corey Terrio probably thinks they're going to stink, or whoever else said, who was it that said the Saints might win might get the first to third pick if Derek Carr starts? Well, there you go. You can go bet the under. Well, you can wait to bet the under because that number's going to go up. Anyway, it was a fun show today and talking about Fletcher's mocks. Come on. Mock drafts are never right. We will do our own mock draft. Tedder says over for sure. We're gonna do at some point. Gabe and I are going to, maybe we'll do it on the Monday before the draft or the Wednesday before the draft starts. I don't know. Whatever. We'll have fun with it. We'll do a first round. Who Dat Daddy said great show. Enjoyed the show as usual. Who Dat? Thank you, sir, and thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family. We're having a lot of fun with this. A-Town says, next time Mrs. Derry asked me to do the dishes, I'll just say, yes, ma'am. She won't have to use the rolling pin. No, it was a cast iron skillet. Shows you how hard my noggin is. Because if you get hit with a cast iron skillet and it only looks like this, I'm just saying, don't mess with 5'1" Italian woman. Okay? She will kick your ass. That's all I got to say on that one. All right, Friday, we'll talk more Saints. It's going to be a Saints show. I don't know what. I don't even know with who. I don't know who's going to be my guest on Friday. By the way, if you haven't, I always forget to ask this earlier when there are a lot of people in here. There's about half the audience there was earlier. Give me the like. If you're watching on YouTube, they say it helps the algorithm. I have no idea why. Don't really care. Don't have enough in it. I don't have it in me to go check out why it helps. I just know that they say it helps. So click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, we had people unsubscribed this week. I must have really pissed them off. I didn't even like bash the rat. I don't know what I said. Pissed somebody off. Pissed multiple people off this week. Sorry, I hurt your feelings. Didn't mean to. I was just being me. Hopefully on Friday, my eye will look better than this. Probably won't on TV. Anyway, my doctor said wear sunglasses. I am not Corey Hart, and I don't wear my sunglasses at night. However, matey, maybe I'll wear an eye patch. We'll see. That is going to wrap it up for us on this Wednesday. I want to thank today's guest, Fletcher Mackel, Gabe Henderson, and you. Always you. Again, I don't know who my Friday guest is. We'll find out then, won't we? A reminder, as we said, to subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. 810 wants me to get Joel Myers. I don't want to talk about Pels on Friday. Too sad. The Pelicans are like fiber. They make me sad. Okay? Not doing it. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And you can find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. You can find me on bet.NOLA.com. You can find our insiders. By the way, I'm also going on the Insiders show. We're doing like a talk about our draft preview special. Again, 3 weeks from tomorrow, live, first round stuff. I don't know if that's running today or if we're just recording it today and he's running it tomorrow. I don't know. Anyway, I'll be on the NOLA.com Insiders page. They have their own YouTube page as well. NOLA.com/Saints or NOLA.com/sports/Saints. Whatever. You can find it easily. I know one thing where you can find me. You can find me on Friday, right here, live at 11 a.m., if not after the fact. Everyone have a great couple days, and we will see you on Friday morning. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.